I remember when it started. I was a sophomore in high school, early September. Our English teacher gave us an assignment, put together a project about some piece of local history. Something that mattered, something people had forgotten. I chose a girl. Her name, in the records, was Emily Rhodes. She went missing in 1994. I wasn't even born then. I picked her story because she'd lived in our town and because her photo looked different from the others. In the picture she's staring straight into the camera, serious in a way kids rarely are. She was 14. I went to the library and started digging. Old newspapers, microfilm, dusty folders. The story sounded simple at first. Emily walked out of her house at 4 in the afternoon, told her mom she was going for a walk. She never came back. The search went on for 2 weeks. Then the police stopped looking. Emily was never found. But I found something else. In the school's archive room there was a cardboard box full of documents about missing kids from our county. Old letters, photographs, clipped articles. And in that box was a notebook. A yellowed, worn-out journal that belonged to Emily's mother. She'd written about how her daughter was changing. Emily says strange things, she wrote. She says she hears voices. She says someone is calling her. I remember the exact feeling when I read those lines. A cold, creeping sensation that started somewhere in my stomach and worked its way outward. I was 17. I thought of myself as rational, grounded, the kind of girl who didn't believe in anything supernatural. I believed in logic, in facts, in the idea that everything has an explanation. But that diary sounded like the raw voice of a mother trying to understand what was happening to her child. August 23, Emily mentioned the voices again today. She says they're calling her into the woods behind the house. I asked whose voices. She wouldn't say. She just stared out the window and stayed quiet. August 25, Emily cries at night. She says the voices won't let her sleep. I try to comfort her, but she just shakes her head. They won't go away, she says. They're only getting louder. August 28. I went through her room. I found slips of paper. They had directions on them, locations in the woods I don't recognize. And one sentence, written over and over again, I have to go. I have to go. I have to go. August 31st, Emily left. I photocopied the diary pages. I'm still not sure why. Maybe because it felt important. Maybe because I felt like her story shouldn't disappear. I built my project around her. I talked about Emily, about her disappearance, about the voices she claimed to hear. My teacher gave me an A, a very compelling project, she said. And very sad. After class, a girl from my year came up to me. Her name was Olivia. Was all of that true? She asked. About Emily? About the voices? Yes, I said. My dad's a cop, Olivia said. I found some of his old case notes at home. They mentioned her. It said she talked about voices. About someone calling her. I remember wanting to ask, do you believe she really heard something? But I didn't. That night I got a text. Unknown number. Just one message. Why did you do that? I didn't reply. I figured it was some stupid joke. Maybe Olivia? Maybe she was trying to spook me. The next day another text came. Did you read my journal? That was the moment I realized it wasn't Olivia. The third text arrived in the middle of the night. The sound of my phone woke me up. It was 2 a.m. The message said, "Why did you copy my words?" I turned on the lamp. The glow from my screen lit up the dark room. I thought about waking my mom and showing her, but I knew exactly what she'd say. "You're overreacting. It's some kid messing around, go back to sleep." I showed the messages to my friend Sarah the next day. "It's probably just some creep having fun," she said. "Ignore it. They'll get bored." But I couldn't ignore it. The fourth message, she called me. "Now I'm going to call you." The fifth, "Can you hear my voice?" The sixth, "I'm already there." I started hearing voices at school. The first time was in biology. I was sitting at my desk, half listening as the teacher talked about mitochondria, when I heard it. A woman's voice. Faint, distant, but close enough to recognize my name. "Lena. Lena." I looked around. No one was talking. Everyone was bent over notebooks or staring at slides on the projector. The teacher kept lecturing. I pressed my ear against the table. The voice was there. It felt like it was coming from the wood, from the floor, from the walls. "Lena, come here." I raised my hand. "Can I go to the bathroom?" I asked. The teacher nodded. I almost ran down the hallway and into the stalls. I locked the door and leaned over the sink. My heart was hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. My face in the mirror looked pale and unfamiliar. "This isn't real," I told my reflection. "It's just your imagination." But the voice kept going, like it hadn't heard me. "Lena, you need to come to the woods." When I went back to class, it stopped. For the rest of the period, there was nothing. The next day, it came back. This time it was a man's voice. It happened between classes. I was standing at the third-floor window, watching the parking lot, when I heard it. "Leave my story alone," the man's voice said. "It's not my story," I whispered before I could stop myself. "It's your story now," the voice replied. A guy from my class walked by me in the hall. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Just, yeah." I started skipping school. My mom asked what was wrong. I told her I had headaches. She offered to take me to the doctor. I told her I was fine. I began avoiding people. I convinced myself that if I stayed alone, the voices would go away. But they didn't. They got louder. I'd sit on my bed doing homework and hear Emily. Her voice was unmistakable, a young girl, clear and sharp. "Why did you tell them about me?" she would ask. "Why do you want them to find me?" "I was just doing a project," I'd say out loud. "You woke it up," Emily said once. "What?" I asked. "What did I wake up?" But she went silent. I threw away the photocopies of the diary. Deleted every file from my laptop. I asked my teacher to remove my project from the class archive. She looked surprised, but she agreed. The messages didn't stop. I know where you live. I can see you. You need to go to the woods like she did. I started seeing the figure. The first time was at the mall. I was with my mom, carrying shopping bags, when I noticed a woman in the crowd. She was standing perfectly still, facing me. I couldn't make out her face clearly, but I felt her stare. When I looked back a second later, she was gone. Maybe it was someone else. Maybe I was seeing patterns where there were none. But deep down, I knew it was her. The next day I saw her again, walking to school. She appeared in the reflection of a shop window, a tall, thin silhouette behind me. I spun around. The sidewalk behind me was empty. The third time was inside school. She was standing at the far end of the hallway, half hidden in the shadows by the lockers. I walked past her, pretending not to see. When I came back from the bathroom, she was gone from the end of the hall. Now she was standing by my classroom door. I ran into the room and slammed it behind me. My teacher asked what had happened. I told her I wasn't feeling well and went to the nurse's office. I called my mom from there. I want to move, I said. What? Why? She asked. I don't like this town. Lena, did something happen? Are you okay? I don't know, I said, and I started to cry. I didn't tell her about the voices. I didn't tell her about the texts or the woman in the halls. I knew exactly how that would sound. I called Olivia. Are you still looking into Emily's case? I asked. No, she said. Why? Delete everything you have, I said. All of it. Notes. Photos. Everything. Why? What's going on? Just delete it, I said, and I hung up. I cleared my browser history. Deleted every article, every bookmark with Emily's name on it. I tossed the last printed pages of the diary into the trash chute outside our apartment. I tried to erase the project from my own head, Emily, the search efforts, the dates. But the voices didn't disappear. They grew louder. It wasn't just Emily and the man anymore. There were multiple voices now. Children, dozens of them, speaking over each other in a layered, chaotic chorus. Why did you forget us? Why did you forget us? Why did you forget us? I sat on my bed and listened, frozen, while they whispered and chanted in the dark. The figure started appearing every day. On the street, in the grocery store, just outside the window of the bus. Always still. Always watching. I stopped going to school altogether. 3 weeks went by. I stayed home, curtains drawn, my phone face down most of the time. My mom finally dragged me to a doctor. He asked what was going on. For a few minutes I sat in silence. Then, because I couldn't carry it anymore, I told him. I told him about the texts. The voices. The woman who kept appearing. He listened, nodding slowly. It could be stress, he said. It could be your brain reacting to prolonged anxiety or trauma. It could be something else. Either way, you're not alone in this. We can help you. He wrote me a prescription. Pills I was supposed to take every day. I took them. The voices didn't vanish. The figure didn't vanish. But when I made myself stop thinking about Emily, when I forced myself not to replay the diary and the search headlines in my head, something changed. The voices didn't stop, but they moved away. Like they were speaking from the far end of a tunnel instead of from just behind my ear. They were still there. Just further. Somehow, I finished that school year. I don't really remember the tests or the grades. I suspect my mom talked to the teachers and they let things slide. The next year, I enrolled in a different high school across town. New building, new faces, new routes home. The voices stopped a month into the new year. The figure stopped appearing 2 months after that. But I remember. I remember every voice, every message, every time I saw that woman standing too still in a place she didn't belong. I'm 21 now. I'm in college, studying psychology because I want to understand what happened to me, or at least wrap it in words that make it less terrifying. But I still don't go into the woods. Any woods. I avoid dark paths and unlit parks. I close my curtains before I go to bed. And sometimes, late at night, I turn on my old phone, the one I used in high school, and scroll through the empty message threads. I deleted everything a long time ago, but I still see them in my head. Why did you do that? Did you read my diary? She called me. Now I'm going to call you. I know where you live. I remember each one. And I remember the last message, the one that came the day the voices finally faded. Talk to you next time. I don't know if any of it was real. If it was something outside of me, or just something inside my own mind finally cracking under too much strain. I don't know if Emily, the way I imagined her, ever truly existed beyond those yellowed pages. But I know this, I will never again dig into missing persons cases. I will never again go hunting through archives for other people's tragedies. I will never again copy words that don't belong to me. Because I know if I do, the voices will come back. And next time, they might not leave. I'm 21, and I am still waiting for the rest of that last message. Talk to you next time. I'm waiting for that moment. And I'm scared of it.